Hey, what's going on YouTube? It's the CJ. We're jumping right into episode 21 of the JBJ 65 gallon reef build. Now, if you're new to my channel or you stumbled across this video just kind of checking out par readings or just this light in general, feel free to hit that subscribe button, notification bell to make sure you stay up to date with all the latest content, random live streams, everything else I do on YouTube, so make sure you stay in the loop. And you can also slide over to Instagram, give me a follow at CJ's Aquariums to get exclusive content and previews of the YouTube content. So with all that being said, as you guys couldn't tell already, we are taking a look at the ZETLIGHT QMaven II LED light. Had this pretty much on ice for the last month or so, just giving it time, and this was the right time to finally pull it out, get the par meter out, and get some questions answered. You know, what can this light do? What is it capable of? And how does it compare to the Radion XR15 Gen 4s, which I currently have on the JBJ? So we're going to try to answer all those questions, and hopefully, you know, for anyone that's looking for either one of these lights or wanted to see which one was quote unquote better, I don't look at it that way. I just look at it two different lights, two different price points, two different options that may be available for you. So hopefully we can answer those questions by the end of this video. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump to it. So we'll get back to the QMaven light here later in the video. For now, let's touch on the Radion XR15 Gen 4 Pros that are on the JBJ and why I actually have them suspended above the tank. During my time in the hobby, one thing I've realized, suspending the lights gives you so much more freedom and access to the tank. And for that reason and that reason alone, I love keeping my lights suspended above the tank, because you never have to move them. If you have to get your hands in there or frag something or move the light work or whatever the case may be, or even in this case, make small adjustments by lowering and raising the lights to increase your spread or to increase your par or to just increase your coverage, whatever the case may be, I've found that suspending your lights is by far the best way of handling lighting on your reef tank. So for those that are new to the hobby or maybe trying to consider, you know, what I want to do with my lights, definitely hang your lights, man. Just without a doubt, hang them or suspend them with some kind of arm mount. Do not attach them to your tank, and do not limit yourself by doing it that way. Now, I do want to mention one other quick tip for anyone that's new, you know, to the hobby, or especially all-in-one systems. Light placement is very important. You want to center it over your main display area and not over the middle of the entire tank, meaning you don't want to light your sump area. That rear, you know, compartment or wherever your filtration is just somewhere you don't want to light and grow algae and just cause yourself issues. And not only that, you can help eliminate bleed over by focusing your light on just the front 2/3 of your tank, meaning you can probably lower them and maximize the par and spread. So make sure you remember, keep it over the center of the main display and do not light the sump area. Now, if there is one suggestion I can make for anyone that's new in the hobby, do not trust what your eyes are telling you, especially when it comes to LEDs and reef tanks, because these things are very powerful, and if you think something's not as bright as it is, you end up toasting corals or you have hot spots in your tank you just have no clue about. So if there is anything I can suggest to anyone that's new, is to pick up some kind of par meter. Doesn't have to be one of the expensive Apogees. You can use something cheap just like I'm using right now. I say cheap because a center par meter is probably the cheapest you're going to have to get you some kind of approximate, you know, ballpark figure. All you got to do, strap it to a piece of PVC just like I did, some zip ties, and this is all you need. You know, I will say get a extension cord for your USB, so that way you don't have to have your laptop within 3 feet and, you know, risk of getting it wet. But ultimately, this is the same thing I have for the 120. Glad I held on to this piece of equipment because it's definitely gave me all the information I needed to let me know if these radions worked under blues, with the screen top on the tank, you know, without any screen top, with flow, without flow. I was able to answer those questions. So I was able to do a quick mock-up and kind of sketch out some of the preliminary results with the par reader and just trying to get the best estimate I could, because this is not an exact thing, guys. Trust me, it's not. But what I was able to take was some of the most common results, average them out, and kind of put those numbers where I got them. So this is running the two Radion XR15s at approximately 10.5 to 11 inches above the tank. And I had to lower them around 2 inches or so because the par numbers were just not where I expected them to be. So I'm glad I had the par meter so I can lower them down and get them where I needed them. So this is running the Coral Lab AB Plus program by EcoTech at 100% intensity with those 2 radions, and the results pretty straightforward. I would say I'm not getting super high crazy numbers all over the tank, but I am getting the adequate amount of par needed to grow SPS corals, LPS corals, and keep a mixed reef like I want in the tank. So would I do better with 3 radions like I had before? I would say definitely so. So these 2 radions will definitely get the job done if I decided to run them at 100%, which I haven't at this point in the tank. I have never ran these lights at 100%. I've only ran them at around 40 or 50% intensity. So definitely something worth noting. You know, you want to be careful. Even with what you think is low par, still can be enough to kill corals, which unfortunately I had that issue in the tank just from one night of testing the par and running them at 100% intensity. I was successful with killing some of my damn SPS corals, which I've survived all the crazy water issues and everything else. So craziness. So just be careful with your lights. Even with a simple par test, you can roast your corals. But with that being said, one other thing I want to make sure I mention was the amount of par that I was getting at the sand bed. A lot of people would think that, you know, par drops significantly as you go deep in the tank, which normally it should, but you have to factor in 2 things. 1, are the lights overlapping each other? And 2, are they being redirected and focused by the glass in the tank? And that's one thing I noticed, which was crazy. The amount of par that I was getting on the sand bed was not something I expected. You know, anywhere upwards of 200 plus par, which is damn near what I was getting at the surface of the tank, I was getting on the sand bed too. So one thing I would say, just be careful of those hidden hot spots in your system. Make sure you account for that. And honestly, you will never look at it with your eyes and know it. So without a par meter, I would just say be careful anywhere around the glass. Don't assume all those areas are low par. So let's keep it moving. Let's check out the QMaven light and see what kind of numbers that has to offer. So before we dive into the numbers, give you guys a quick first impression and first look at the QMaven light on the JBJ. 2 totally different styles of light. It's not that single point puck style light you get with the Radion XR15. More of a strip light, multiple LEDs, multiple spectrums kind of spread out over the surface, and it definitely looks good, to be honest guys. I mean, it's a very sleek fixture. It's waterproof, no fan, so it's completely silent, and I believe everything is cooled by heat sinks. So if I was to install this the normal way, I would have definitely used the included hanging kit and mounted it from the ceiling, but for, you know, quick testing purposes, figured I'll go ahead and use the included arm mounts, which luckily had a maximum height of around 11 inches. So that's around the same height I had the radions hanging when I did the first par reading. So let's go ahead and get to the testing. Now, when it comes to the settings on the light, I was able to go through the app and configure it in a way to where it matched the AB Plus program from Coral Lab on the radions. Pretty close. I was able to tune the red and green, warm and cool white spectrums to around 25% intensity. And then the UV, royal blues, and all the blue spectrums were at 100% to match what I had on the radions. So overall, it looked good as far as with my eyes. It looked pretty damn close. And I was really interested in seeing what the actual numbers were going to be, you know, running this with the lid, no lid, all blues versus, you know, full spectrum. We did the full range of par test. So let's see the results. Now I do want to tell you guys, when the light first came on with everything at 100%, did a quick par check, and that immediately made me turn off the lights, because at the surface I was getting around 500 or something par. I was like, that's way too damn much right now. So turned the lights off, got it configured to the AB Plus program, and this is what we're getting now, which is around 300 at the surface, and definitely adequate par all over the surface of the rock work. But the sand bed is not as much as the radions. My guess is because the lights are pointing more downward instead of outward like the radion spread gets you. So I'm not getting as much reflection off the glass, but overall definitely covers the rockscape, meaning these strip lights normally don't have the same amount of spread, you know, from front to back. But in my situation, they actually fit the tank fairly well, and they actually fit the scape with the spread and coverage. So I gotta say, as far as being, you know, powerful enough to get the job done, I have no doubt about that. So what about the look of the tank? You know, how does it look after, you know, the lights are on? What's it look like to the eyes? The coral pop, all those kind of things. So let's take a quick look. Now, one of the first things I noticed with this light on the JBJ is how camera friendly this light is. Even before I made, small tweaks and adjustments to the spectrums to where it wouldn't be too blue and to where I did not need a filter, I could take a picture of the tank and it would come out pretty good, meaning I didn't have anything overly exposed, or it just worked. So this is definitely a camera friendly light for people that like recording their tanks and videos. I would say it's definitely good for that. Now, something else I noticed that's a bigger positive than most people realize is there's no disco ball effect anywhere. Sandbed is not showing any individual color of LEDs, so whatever they've done a great job of making those lights blend. That's a problem that I've noticed with any of the strip lights or black box lights that I've had in the past, was the disco ball effect. So none of that showing, but the biggest negative I would say is no shimmer. Don't know what the hell is going on, but there is literally no shimmer in the JBJ. So some people don't care for shimmer. Some people actually prefer the T5 look over your tank. For me personally, I love seeing the shimmer and the ripples effect over the rock work and the tank and all those things. That's just something that at this point I gotta have out of my LED lights. So if you're a big shimmer person, this is probably not gonna be a fixture you like, but if you get that spread and recording and everything else, say it looks pretty damn good. And the same goes for when the tank's underneath all blues, still getting the same color pop. It's a little different with this light. I think the Radion gives me a little bit more of a deeper color. This is more of a, I don't know if you want to call it pastel or a little lighter, but in either case, once again, still camera friendly with the gel filter, and it still gets the job done spreading wall to wall with light. So overall, I think the fixture looks pretty damn good on the JBJ. So for those that were curious of a direct comparison, instead of making you rewind the video and go and compare charts, I try to put them conveniently on one picture for you. So the blue is going to be the Radion par numbers, the orange is going to be the QMaven. So you can directly compare on different spots of the rock work, the surface, the sand bed. It should give you guys a clear idea of what kind of numbers you're getting. And also, I was mainly surprised with the amount of par I was getting underneath all blues. Just like in the picture, it really wasn't that much of a drop off, guys. So for those thinking that blue light is, less dangerous or less of a risk for corals, or maybe not enough light for corals, I would say I disagree. According to my par meter, there was a small reduction in light, but not very much. If anything, the blue light penetrates deeper into the water column, and that's actually what reaches the bottom of your tank more than the other spectrum. So figured I'll share it with you all and share the results in one picture, so that way you can do a direct comparison. So we pretty much covered all the main things, the par, the look of the tank, and all those with the lights. But the main deciding factor, or the biggest difference between them, has to be what you don't see, which is the functionality. The apps that control the lights, meaning the ZETLIGHT only is controlled by an app. There's no physical way to control the fixture besides plugging it in without a controller, which runs everything at 100% intensity. Where with the Radion, you have a button on the light that physically lets you change the spectrums and power and all those kind of things. The second thing that I would say is the functionality of the apps themselves. So many ways to control my Radion, whether it's with a Reef Link or WXM module, or just plugging it into the Radion website, where the QMaven light has some pre-programmed settings that you can adjust as far as the intensity, but it doesn't give you the same amount of profiles and different things. So I can see some major improvements they can make with that to give you more functionality with that light. I think that's pretty much the biggest thing that has it behind the Radion in my eyes. But other than that, if you guys are looking for, a light that's, around the $370 price point, I believe is what that ZETLIGHT light cost, you don't have Radion money and you want to be able to cover a 3 or 4 foot tank, you can definitely go with that ZETLIGHT and probably be okay. So with this point, I just want to give you guys a direct comparison. Me personally went back and forth with it, but I'm curious, what do you guys think? Should I make a change? Do you think that the other light makes a difference, or would I benefit from it? Or should we just keep on rolling the way we've been rolling the JBJ? So at this point, time to get on out of here. This video's been long enough. So as always, hey, you guys like, comment, subscribe. You guys keep doing what y'all do. Y'all be easy and happy reefing. Peace.